James Garner confessed it all in the note he left behind to Doris Day. James Garner was born James Scott Bumgarner on April 7, 1928 in Norman, Oklahoma. Garner's early life was full of tough times, strength, and learning to depend on himself. His mom died when he was only 5 years old, and he didn't get along with his stepmom, so he had to grow up fast. That helped him become kind and deep, which showed up in his best acting later. Before he ever got to Hollywood, Garner tried lots of different jobs. He did hard labor work, played football for a short time, and joined the U.S. Army during the Korean War. He got hurt twice there and received the Purple Heart. Those tough experiences kept him real. He never liked fake people and always respected regular folks. People watching him on screen could feel that and trusted him right away. Garner's path to becoming a star wasn't normal at all. He started acting almost by chance in the early 1950s. He studied a little at the famous actor's studio in New York. Unlike other stars, he never acted like a big flashy movie star. He kept things natural, quiet, easy to talk to, and real with feelings. That felt fresh and new back then. It worked great in 1957 when he got the part of Brett Maverick in the TV western called Maverick. The role made him super famous. As the fun, smart, and not too eager gunslinger, he changed the usual western style. He added laughs, cleverness, and brains to a type of show that usually had serious, tough heroes. Maverick didn't just make Garner famous. It set the pattern for his whole career. Over and over, he played guys who were clever instead of showy, good without preaching, and strong without bragging. Whether he was a private eye, a soldier, a guy in love, or an old cowboy, Garner always showed honesty and calm power. Moving from TV to movies was easy for him. In films like The Great Escape in 1963, T. He Americanization of Emily in 1964, Grand Prix in 1966, and Support Your Local Sheriff in 1969, he showed he could do drama, comedy, and action really well. One big thing about Garner was that he wouldn't let the studios push him around. Back then, actors usually had no power. He sued big studios over bad contracts and won. His fights with Warner Brothers and later Universal helped other actors get better treatment. He became a quiet hero for performers' rights and earned respect from everyone in the business. Garner never wanted to be an activist, but standing up for what was fair showed the same honesty he had in his life and work. In 1974, Garner came back strong to TV with the Rockford Files. He created one of the most famous characters ever, Private Detective Jim Rockford. Unlike the smooth detectives of that time, Rockford was always short on money, beat up a lot, and careful with his feelings, but everyone liked him. Garner added humor, softness, and real human feelings to the role. He won an Emmy and became known as one of the best on TV. The show stayed popular for years and changed many crime shows that came after. Even when he got older, Garner's popularity never went down. He took older roles with class and gave touching performances in movies like Murphy's Romance in 1985, which got him an Oscar nomination, and Space Cowboys in 2000. Maybe the most touching one was when he played the older Noah Calhoun in The Notebook in 2004. He showed sweet, strong love that lasted a long time, and that made a whole new group of fans love him. James Garner's love story was different, open, and lasted just like he did. It was one of those rare Hollywood loves that beat the odds and stayed strong quietly. Garner was married only once, to Lois Josephine Fleischman Clark. She became more than his wife, she was the steady support in his life for almost 60 years. They met at a party in 1956, and things moved really fast. In those days, celebrities usually dated for a long time before getting serious. But Garner followed his heart. Just 16 days after meeting, on August 17, 1956, James Garner and Lois Clark got married. People were surprised, but it turned out to be one of the longest marriages in Hollywood. Garner later talked about jumping into love with his usual honest and funny way. "We went to dinner every night for 14 nights, he once said. I was just absolutely nuts about her." Their honeymoon was simple, especially for someone who would become a big star. Garner joked that he spent only $77 on the trip and it almost made him broke. But that simple style, mixed with real love and respect, showed what their marriage would be like. Fame, money, and Hollywood craziness never ran their relationship. Commitment did. Garner often talked about marriage with jokes and real wisdom. He compared it to the army once, saying, "Marriage is like the army. Everyone complains, but you'd be surprised at the large number of people who re-enlist." Behind the joke was truth. He knew long marriages aren't perfect, they take sticking with it. His words came from a man who went through good and bad times in marriage and still believed in it. When they got married, Lois Clark already had a young daughter from before. Her 9-year-old girl was getting better from polio, which was a really bad sickness back in the 1950s. Garner didn't think twice, he stepped up as a loving dad right away. He took care of Lois and her daughter like they were his own family from the start. That showed how good and responsible he was, just like people felt when they watched him act. In 1958, James and Lois had their only child together, a daughter named Greta. Everyone called her Gigi. She became the heart of their family. Even with his busy acting job and lots of travel, Garner always put being a husband and dad first when he could. While many Hollywood marriages fall apart from stress, the Garners worked hard to keep their home life private and safe from fame. Their marriage had hard times too. Over the years, James and Lois separated twice, one time for 3 months in 1970 and another starting in 1979. Unlike a lot of celebrity breakups that never fix, these times apart actually showed how strong their love was. After some time and thinking, they got back together in September 1981. They chose to stay committed again because of love, loyalty, and everything they shared. It wasn't a big public show, just a private choice. Amazingly, James Garner and Lois Clark stayed married until he died in 2014. In a business full of short romances and broken promises, their almost 58-year marriage showed real staying power, forgiveness, and true partnership. Lois practiced Judaism, and Garner respected her faith. They handled their differences with understanding, which added more respect to their relationship. In the quiet end of his life, James Garner, one of Hollywood's most loved leading men, started thinking more about the past. Fame gave him success, fans, a long career, and respect. But when he wrote his last note to Doris Day, his old friend and fellow star, he didn't brag. He was honest. It was a real confession from a man who finally felt okay with himself. "I never said enough when it mattered," Garner admitted. "We spent our lives smiling for cameras, being brave for everyone else, but rarely honest about the weight we carried." His words weren't over the top. They were simple, like him. Garner always hated the fake side of being famous and called himself an accidental movie star. In the note, he said his chill image was just a cover. "People thought I was relaxed, unbothered," he wrote. "Truth is, I worried all the time about work, about money, about whether I deserved any of it." To Doris Day, who hid her own sadness behind a happy image, Garner opened up. "You understood better than anyone how lonely it can be to be adored," he said. He talked about how Hollywood wanted perfect people but gave no kindness. Contracts were ruthless, studios were controlling, and the pressure to remain likable never faded. "I fought them when I could," he wrote, talking about his famous fights for fair deals. "But even when I won, I felt tired. Fighting shouldn't have to be the price of dignity." Garner also faced his regrets. He mentioned missed chances, hurt feelings in relationships, and how hard it was to always play the nice guy. "I wish I'd been softer with myself," he said. "I wish I hadn't mistaken endurance for strength." He wrote about how injuries and constant pain hurt him inside. "There were days I smiled through pain so bad it scared me," he wrote. "I didn't want to disappoint anyone, fans, producers, even strangers." Most touching, Garner wrote about friendship. His connection with Doris Day was special in Hollywood. "It was trust with no strings. You never asked me to be anything other than Jim," he wrote. "No charm, no lines, no act." He thanked her for proving kindness could last in fame. "You proved that decency wasn't a weakness in this business. It was an act of rebellion." As the note came to an end, Garner got thoughtful and gentle. "If this is the last thing I leave behind," he wrote, "I want it to be the truth." He said thanks for his wife, his family, and the fans who stayed with him so long. But he didn't make his life sound perfect. "It wasn't perfect. I wasn't perfect, but I tried to be fair, and I tried to be real." His last words to Doris Day were simple but strong. "If I've learned anything," Garner wrote, "it's that being kind lasts longer than being famous." "We outlived the noise, Doris. Maybe that was the point all along. The note wasn't sad goodbye. It was a calm letting go. By confessing everything, James Garner did what he always did best. He told the truth without making a big show. And that left something stronger than fame, a reminder that even the most loved lives matter because of honesty, being humble, and having the courage to speak from the heart. James Garner and Doris Day were loved Hollywood stars who had a warm friendship for decades. They acted together in two fun romantic comedies in 1963, The Thrill of It All and Move Over, Darling. They played married couples and got along great right away because they both had down-to-earth Midwestern personalities. James Garner's later years had his lasting fame, but also a long and often painful fight with bad health problems that tested his tough side. During the hard work on the Rockford Files in the 1970s, a show that needed lots of physical action and stunts, Garner's knees got really bad. What started as normal wear turned into serious, ongoing pain. Over that time, he had 6 or 7 knee surgeries. He kept going back to work even with pain and trouble moving. The damage was so bad that in 2000, he got both knees fully replaced. That showed how much his body gave for his job. His problems weren't just his knees. On April 22, 1988, Garner had a serious heart problem and got quintuple bypass heart surgery. It was a big and scary operation. But people close to him were amazed how fast he got better. Doctors told him to quit smoking, something he did most of his life. Quitting was hard, but he finally stopped in 2005. His daughter, Gigi Garner, later said he started smoking at age 12, so quitting was a huge deal. In May 2008, Garner had another big health scare, a stroke. 2 days later, on May 11, he had surgery because of it. Doctors said his chances looked very good, which gave hope to fans. But the stroke changed things, and his health never got fully back. On July 19, 2014, emergency teams went to Garner's home in Brentwood, Los Angeles. They found the loved actor had passed away peacefully at age 86. He died from a heart attack caused by coronary artery disease. His health had been getting worse since the stroke, and his body, tired from years of work and sickness, finally stopped. James Garner's health battles showed a quieter, very human side of the famous star. It was about staying strong, keeping going, and keeping dignity. Even when his body failed, he faced everything with the same quiet strength he showed in his roles. He left not just great movies and shows, but a lasting example of bravery when life gets hard.